Hey, what's up, guys? Tuki here, back again with another episode of what really is Draft to Glory with the Seattle Sea Cattle. Now, the last episode was highlighted by a fairly decent draft. We picked up a medium elite goaltender and a low elite defenseman. However, there was one moment where, some people wish it went a little bit differently. I guess would be the best way to phrase it. That being another player by the name of Bengoa being available in the draft. Of course, we did not go with him. We went with the medium elite goaltender, and he ended up on the Minnesota Wild. In the comments section of the last episode, there was a whole lot of support for breaking the rules and trading for Jake Bengoa. Now, as far as the rules of this series go, again, outside of no trades, no major free agent signings, it's building through the draft. I've broken those rules on occasion, though, when there's been enough support for it. We could trade for Bengoa. We could. Now, here's the thing. Of course, we have Belfour, Yamamoto. Sutter's gone from a high top 9 to medium top 6, which is tremendous. Morgan Geekie also improved. So we're seeing some decent progression from these players. The thing is, if we wanted to pull this off, we would more than likely have to give up Chuck Lorentz, who's a 74 at 20 years old. He is a grinder, so I can't help but wonder how his progression will go through. Even if you change someone's player type, it's tough to see the progression kind of change, is at least what I've noticed. Sometimes grinders will develop better as snipers, but when you look at Lorentz, he's fast, he's physical, and that's about it. The puck skills, the shooting is way off. So I'm not sure how well Lorentz will develop. So when the thought comes up of trading Lorentz for Bengoa, which is certainly a risk, am I willing to do it? I think I am. Why not? It'll be a little bit more fun. And at the end of the day, I'm more than likely going to have to give up a draft pick here because they don't want to trade him. So it is a little bit of a sacrifice, but it's one that I'm willing to make. Can we get away with only using a 4th round pick here? So again, if we want Bengoa, we have to sacrifice a draft pick to do it. Is it necessarily worth it? No, which is why I'm willing to do this in the first place if it turns out to be possible. I mean, if it's any more than the 3rd round pick, I'm not thinking it's going to happen, and it's simply not going to. So, I don't know. We'll revisit that in the future. But I just wanted to give you guys a look at how difficult of a trade that is to pull off, where it would take someone like Lorentz and a 2nd round pick. And when you think to how important each draft pick is, do we really want to give up 2 assets for 1 just because of a last name? I don't think we do. So I was willing to give it a shot. I'm not thinking that's going to work out all that well for us. So quickly, before we get into the season sim, of course, I had to set up the scouting, and we'll pay attention to that towards the end of the year. But I wanted to give you a look at the lines. That was very weird how it skipped over the middle section there. We are going with Bengoa, Anderson, Dolan, and Yamamoto. 2nd line of Wedman, Lorentz, and Sutter. Malinen, Belfour, and Geekie make up the 3rd line. 4th line of Horton, Leeson, and Dillman. These 2 players, Horton and Dillman, would have been CHL eligible. We're going to play them at the NHL level and see what they can do. Same thing defensively with Bishop and Garvin. Tishka, Wiley, Smith, Bishop, Rumble, and Garvin are the pairings. And the goaltenders, there was a little bit of debate as to what we should do. I am going to roll, though, with Frazier and Oshie. Again, you can argue whether or not the development pattern for Frazier would be, having him make more improvements playing at the AHL level while Oshie's at the CHL level. And I don't disagree with that. But I am just going to play both at the NHL level, and we'll see what happens. Down in the AHL, Moriso, Savy, and Dawson Butt, actually Matala as well, are our only players for forwards. Defense is Leduc, Buffaro, Lee, Krebs, Van Imp, and Gallagher. Of course, the goaltenders, there isn't anybody that we're worried about, so we're going with the best 2, that being Petit and Stankowski. So with that all taken care of, let the season sim begin. Again, we fully expect and absolutely will have the worst record in the NHL. The big question of this episode, of course, will yet again be whether or not we win the draft lottery, and whether or not we can find some steals in this upcoming draft. But like I said, I wanted to start off this episode by just, trying to do that trade. I'm not against it. It would be fun. Obviously, I had no choice but to go for the medium elite goaltender because we don't know when another one will become available. That said, you watch, we'll end up with another medium elite goaltender in this draft, and then, oh boy, then the comment section will be nothing but trade one of the two medium elites to get the other Bengoa, which maybe we will. I mean, the other Bengoa will certainly be down in the CHL. He'll still be in juniors for this season, so he technically wouldn't have played an NHL game without his brother. We'll see. I know, trust me. In that last episode, I wanted to draft him so badly, but we knew the goaltender was good. Even though he's a 51, we'll see how he develops. But I don't know. I'm torn. We'll see what happens, though. Like I said, I am not closing the door on trading for Jake Bengoa. It might happen. Which, again, obviously they're both computer-generated players, but it's perfect. They have to be brothers, right? They have to be. Within 2 years of one another being drafted, it was perfect. As amazingly, and I know I didn't even point this out, that we do have a win on the season. If we hit 5 wins with how bad our goaltending is, I would be shocked. Just in general, this team is bad. Of course, we are taking the strategy of just playing whatever personnel we can at either the NHL or the AHL level. I'm not using the CHL all that much, and I'm also not leaving players unsigned. I'm trying to make sure that these players get the ice time if the spots are available. And again, you can debate that strategy. I certainly won't argue it as we get our second win of the year against Ottawa. That occasionally leaving players, it's a fact, leaving players unsigned this year can actually result in them developing, where in previous years it really didn't. Playing your prospects down in junior can certainly result in some player development. But we've seen it in this series so far, where playing certain guys at the NHL level, Belfour is the main example. Even if they should probably be down in junior, playing someone at the NHL level can also still result in some solid progression. As we just picked up our third win of the year, beating the Blue Jackets 4-3 in a shootout. Tacoma on 9 wins, so don't exactly bet on the Evergreens making the playoffs this year either. But for a series like this, we've said it a million times, it's all about that slow progression. We'll get there. The first 10 years, if anything, are those foundation years where you just hope to end up with the prospects that you need, especially in a series like this where it's so specific. So I'd say within 10 years of a normal draft to glory run, you would expect to start to be contending for a playoff spot. In this series, it will more than likely take even longer. Again, we have 25 years to try and find success. We have found success in the majority of our series, but I don't know if anything would be sweeter than finding success in this particular series, with just how specific the player pool is, with, of course, only drafting players from the 4 Washington State-based WHL teams. With that said, we're up to 3 wins on the year. Do you think we'll hit 5? It's very much possible. I don't know. It's tough because at the end of the day, it's kind of inconsequential. We know we're going to be the worst team in the league, but still, 5 wins is a bit of a milestone for this team. So I'd be all right with it. I am intrigued as we get win number 4 against Chicago, so there you go. Will we hit 10, or will we struggle to hit the 5th win at any point over the rest of the season? I am intrigued to see the player stats, though, at the end of this year, whether it is Morgan Geekie and Sutter. I don't know why. I was going to say Suter, and I'm like, nope, that's not right. It's Sutter. I was thinking Suter because of Minnesota. Whether or not Sutter and Geekie, with their improved potentials, end up doing even better this season, that would be great. Of course, having someone like Matt Wedman on the second line is an interesting way to go, even though he has nothing for potential. I would love if he turned into a medium bottom 6, but as I've said, I am mainly focused on trying, and I'm sure some people are like, wait, stop, look at Minnesota, is he on the block? Don't worry, I'm way ahead of you. Let's take a look at the Wild, as Anderson Dolan is leading this team in points, 35 points in 63 games, which leads me to be quite disappointed in Trent, as he is having a down year compared to last. So let's take a look at the Wild. They're not in a position to be trading prospects. Nope. So Bengoa is there, 64 overall now at 19 years old. They also have Philip Zadina. So if they were a little bit better this season, that would certainly be helpful. Oh my God, Belfour is a 78 at 19 years old. Steven Belfour might go down as one of the game-changing selections in this series, but just how quickly he has developed. Let's see. We'll sim to... we'll sim to the 11th, the end of the regular season. We'll take a look at stats, go through the playoffs, the same thing, the usual. We have a formula for this. We have a formula, and we're going to go through with it. Can we hit that 5th win of the year? And you watch, it'll be against Boston, right? Nope, okay. Who will it be? We are running out of time to get that 5th win on the season. I'm not thinking it's going to happen at this point. 4 games left. Can we find win number 5? 2 games left. Buffalo. It's a loss. And Toronto. It's going to be a loss. It's going to be a loss, isn't it? God damn it, EA. Just give me the answer. Is it a loss or not? EA, quit holding out on me. Did we hit 5 wins? The scouting. All right. Goaltending for 6 weeks. And we did not. It was an overtime loss. So 4-72-6 on the season. Tacoma at 23-47-12. Let's take a look at the stats for our team, and then we'll look league-wide. So Trent Bengoa showing up as an 86. Again, we'll look at the progress reports after the Stanley Cup is awarded. 21 goals, 20 assists, a -90. Oh, boy. But 43 points is not terrible. Anderson Dolan, though. Again, 46 points. Great season for him. And Yamamoto, 13 goals, 32 helpers. I'm quite happy with that. Wedman, I named you specifically. 7 points. That's disappointing. Chuck Lorentz with 18. And Sutter, 6 goals, 15 assists, 21 points. Not too bad. Sammy Malinen, 16 points. Belfour with 18. He was a -82. And Morgan Geekie with 26 points. That brings us to the 4th line. Drew Horton's up to a 59, 3 points this season. Brett Leeson with 5. And David Dillman, 2 points, and still just a 57. It's a little bit disappointing. On defense, we did see some improvement from Stephen Bishop and Bruce Garvin as well. The goaltending, though, is what I mainly want to see. Frazier is a 63, somehow finished with an 8.79. Oshie with an 8.25. That is unfortunate. There was some progression for him. With prospects that are that low of an overall, the main progression will come in between the end of the season and the end of the regular season and the end of the playoffs, that little window. Let's look at the player stats here before we look at the team stats. So again, our top line all finished above 40, or 43 points or better, all above that 40-point mark. But from there, it pretty much fell off a cliff throughout the entire league. John Tavares hits 100 points. Only 3 players had 93 points or more. The goal-scoring king was Tyler Seguin with 47. Again, only 5 players hit 40 goals or more. The plus-minus king was Philip Kessel at 43. He and Seth Jones. The worst in the league was Tishka at a -134. That is incredibly bad. Jake Dotchin was the penalty minute king. Power play points? I'm intrigued. Trocheck was up there. Trocheck and Sagan led the way. In terms of the NHL's Iron Man, it was Ville Polka. Chicago. Going heavy on the Ville Polka bandwagon. Jonathan Taves wins the most faceoffs in the league. The hit king was Jesse Puljujärvi. The blocked shot king was Ty Smith, of course, as you'd expect. The most giveaways went to Eric Branson, and the most takeaways went to McDavid. So I would fully expect McDavid to win the Selke over Kane. And the fight leader, shocker, Jake Dotchin. Just, you absolute goon. year in and year out. You absolute goon. And as far as the rookie race goes, it's going to be Lou Clutterbuck from the Edmonton Oilers, although Brannstrom, as a defenseman, 22 years old as a rookie, 52 points though. So a great season for Brannstrom. Maybe, just maybe, it'll give Eric Brannstrom the Calder. I probably would. To put up that many points as a defenseman, I'm sorry, Clutterbuck, but I don't think it's going to happen. We'll look around the entire league here. The Penguins take the President's Trophy. Goals for per game, 1.17. We scored 96 goals all year. The top team in the league scored 267. Oh my God, 427 goals against, a 5.21 average per game. The second highest was 3.2, which, man, the Rangers' goaltending was just abysmal this year as well. Look at how far ahead they are of Buffalo in terms of goals against per game. Our power play was at 12.2%, the worst in the league. Detroit's power play is still terrible. And our penalty kill was at 69.5%. Not great. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that's not a great number. Tell me if I'm wrong. So let's go ahead and sim through the postseason. That yet again, I mean, we're not going to be a part of it anytime soon. So really to say that yet again we won't be part of, it's kind of a waste because obviously it's still going to be a while, but who knows? The last draft did help us out in terms of getting that much closer. We have our goaltending prospect who obviously just pans out. We have a half-decent defensive prospect. And we got Dillman as well, medium bottom six. I'm just not sure what we're going to get in this draft, but I will take a look at the draft board before actually entering the draft to see if, any of that extra information might be able to help us get a steal. Although, again, it's going to be disappointing to have someone that we've scouted out 20 times for them to not have an exact potential, but that is the way the game works. We will focus. I'm actually going to focus on the defenseman. Normally, I'd focus on the forwards for that much longer because there are more forwards per draft, but we do still need that help with defense primarily. As we're going to get a look here, and the Stanley Cup goes to the Nashville Predators. The Colorado Eagles take home the Calder. Let's take a look here. Smashville with the Stanley Cup victory. Get a look at the playoff tree. So Winnipeg over St. Louis, Nashville over Colorado, Edmonton over Arizona, and Dallas over Vancouver. Nashville then beat Winnipeg in 6, Edmonton beat Dallas in 5, and Nashville beat Edmonton in 6. Over in the East, Columbus over Washington, Pittsburgh over Tampa. I was going to say, in my mind, I'm like, okay, Toronto, no, it's Tampa, and then I still said Toronto. Wow. Pittsburgh over Tampa, Ottawa over Boston, Carolina over Florida. Pittsburgh then beat Columbus in 7. Carolina over Ottawa, and then Pittsburgh over Carolina. Pittsburgh, 6 games, 7 games, 7 games, and then 7 games in the Cup final, but they lose to Nashville. The result that everybody except Penguins fans and those who really, really hate Nashville wanted last year. Let's take a look here at what a let's take a look at what a Cup-winning roster looks like. Let's do that. Philip Forsberg, who, my God, in real life, obviously, I'm recording this the day after, not obviously, but I'm recording this the day after Game 6 between Winnipeg and Nashville. Philip Forsberg's between the legs goal. Oh my God. The nerve. Balls of steel, you might say. From there, Johansson, Arvidsson, they picked up Jordan Eberle and Brian Little. Pominville was there as well. Fiala, Yarncrook, Kamenev, Cody Eakin, Sissons, and Colin Wilson. On defense, Subban, Ellis, Yossi, Ekholm, Danny DeKaiser, and Tyler Wotherspoon. The goaltender was Pekka Rinne. An 81 overall at 39 years old, but Rinne has done it. He has his Stanley Cup victory as Nashville brings the cup back to the Western Conference. Again, Pittsburgh won the President's Trophy. They weren't able to get the job done, though. The Art Ross goes to Tavares, as does the Norris to Roman Josi, the second time in 3 years. The Lady Bing to Sagan, upsetting Patrick Kane. The Calder does go to Clutterbuck, which Again, if this is real life, I'd give it to the defenseman over Clutterbuck, but it's all about the points. Rene wins the Conn Smythe, Holtby the Vezina, Scott Darling the Jennings, okay. The Masterton to Ty Smith. Since now 3 straight years that the Sea Cattle has won this award, and now 4 out of 5 years in this series. McDavid wins the Selke for the 4th year in a row. Tavares wins the Ted Lindsay, and Tyler Seguin takes home the Rocket Richard. Down in the AHL, Pascal Laberge put up the most points in the league. League MVP was Alexei Heponiemi. He did not score the most goals. That went to Karpinen. The outstanding rookie was Swanson. Shout out to Cub Swanson. Defenseman of the year was Whitney. Goaltender of the year, Jari. And Hallinan was the MVP of the playoffs. Which means it is time for us to find out our destiny. Our fate is to be revealed. We have the best odds, by far. Last year we fell to the 4th pick. Will we get the number 1 overall pick in this year's draft? No, we will not. The Rangers and Sabres jump us. We fall to 3 this year. San Jose has the 4th pick and the 7th pick. We will have the 3rd overall pick in this draft. Let's take a look at the retired players. Will we lose anybody early? Yes, we will. I had a feeling this might happen. Dakota Krebs and Luke Gallagher call it quits. At 22 and 23 years old, at 23 for Krebs, 22 for Gallagher. 2 players retire early. Dakota Krebs played 82 games. He ended up having 2 points in his NHL career. Rich Clune and Nathan Horton also retire. So there you go. It can happen on occasion with some of these guys retiring early. In terms of goaltending retirements, Luongo, Anderson, Lettinen, Halak, Gustafsson, Red O'Bara, and Justin Pogge. For the Skaters, Thornton, Marlowe, Carter, Rick Nash, Bernstein, Weber, and numerous others. So we do lose a couple of players to retirement, which isn't, again, the biggest surprise in the world. I kind of expected it. It's a shame that it was Dakota Krebs, though. He had a spot at least on the AHL squad for a few years to come. Oh my God. Please don't be eligible. Please don't be eligible for us to pick. Please. I'm begging you, do not let him be from one of the 4 teams. Thank you, Jesus. Oh my God. Whoo, you have no idea how happy I am that Bear Khan, which is such an amazing name, is not eligible, because we would have missed out on him by falling to the 3rd pick. So that's incredible that he's not eligible, considering we didn't end up with that 1st overall pick. So that's actually extremely helpful. I'm going to look at goaltenders first, though. Damn, he might even be low elite, but Andrew Kaliko would have been great. Kessel on Saskatoon. Who is eligible? Oh, that's right, I can use the triggers here. So we have Bill McNaughton, who is a half-decent goaltender. Who else do we have that's eligible for us here? So McNaughton. We have Martin Claxon, who, again, is going to be hot garbage. So for goaltenders, the only guy to look at is Bill McNaughton as a backup, hopefully medium backup, even though he's projected to be undrafted. On defense, who do we have here? I'm going to sort by potential. So Norm Donaghy from the Spokane Chiefs, projected to go in the 1st round, could be an option. Ollie is not. Who else do we have here? We have Travis Bowdens and Joffrey Bass. Jeffrey Bass or Jeffrey Bass? Show some Bass. It's going to be Jeffrey Bass. Why not? I'm going to call him Bass. And that way, if only he was an enforcer, and you could make a base joke. Joffrey Bass. Could be Jeffrey Bass, though. I don't know. I've seen people pronounce it different ways. I'm going with Jeffrey Bass because you want to show some Bass. He's not great, though, is the point. No one really is that good, unfortunately. There's a shitload of unknowns, though, so that's good. Boy, Scouts, you are helping me out in a tremendous way here, aren't you? So many exact, AHL top 2s. I mean, Gentile as a medium 7th, if I'm lucky, would be a decent little pickup if he's even eligible. Let me double check this. So again, we had Bass, which, I mean, we'll mark him down, I guess. Who else is available? Spokane, Lance Crane, who I can almost guarantee will be worse than advertised. And then we have Parker on Everett, but again, these aren't good. And I can only assume, yeah, none of those guys are available for us anyway. This is going to be a rough draft. We might have to rely on the forwards at this point. So let's take a look, and Clinton Richards needs to be our target, and I can't imagine he won't fall to the third pick. Stat-wise, Bear McCann, 2 players named Bear, by the way, Bear Khan and Bear McCann, are both better than Richards. Richards should be there at the 3 spot. If he's not, Tommy Tunnell, who shouldn't be there either, and Tommy Tunnell is definitely the target. So I don't need to mark those guys. So we know Tunnell or Richards needs to be that top pick for us. No doubt about that. And let's double check here. Who else is available? Nolan Meach in the 7th round. Could be a decent little pickup. I don't expect Donaghy to be there. To be honest, all I need to do, I don't know why I'm doing it this way, I just need to pin players who are, not going to be projected to go that highly. So, let's see. Yeah, you know what? Here, let me double check this. Let me go down beyond the 7th round. Is there anybody here that we have information on who might be a bit of a steal? Again, case in point, how do we have that many players that are listed as complete unknowns? It doesn't make sense. That's impossible. It does not make sense when I've spent the entire year scouting out the WHL that there's no way I should have zero information on anybody available. Regardless, I'm not going to make those complaints again because I've made them enough. It is draft time. We know that we will end up with one of 2 great players. The Rangers take Bear Khan, 79 overall. The Sabres take Wood, which means we have our pick between Tunnell and Richards, but we know the stats on Tunnell looked much better. So Tommy Tunnell from the Everett Silvertips will be joining the Seattle Sea Cattle, 73 overall at a medium elite. We have arguably a new right wing because we can move Kyler over to center. So it could very well be Bengoa, Yamamoto, and Tunnell as our top line moving forward. Richards was a 67. So that was pretty nice to end up with 2 decent options for this draft. I'll scroll back through the first round for the hell of it. Although, I got to admit, even if there is a great steal here, will there be? Maybe not. Donaghy ended up being low elite. Still, we could have used him, seeing as we need defensemen. You got a couple of decent picks there at the end. Pekka, medium top 4 enforcer in the first round. That's fairly ridiculous. So who is available for us here moving forward? We have Kavanaugh, who is not. Again, why can't I use the triggers here? Eminger is not. Cooper is not. Which brings us to Crane or Bass. And I feel like I have to take Bass just for the ability to yell Bass all the time. Really, we're going to end up with both of them because we don't have anybody else available in these later rounds. So, yeah, that's not good. That's not good. These later rounds are going to be looking pretty rough for us yet again. Last year, the second round was quite kind to us. This year, not so much. We have Bowden's later on. Berard. I'm just going to double check at everyone who's at least projected to be drafted. I know that there was a late steal coming up in the 7th round, potentially with Nolan Meach if he's low top 9. That's going to be fairly disappointing, but also not completely terrible, seeing how many AHL potential guys we've ended up with in the series thus far. We have McNaughton, and then we go into undrafted. So let's do this. We'll start off with Lance Crane from the Spokane Chiefs. We'll see what he ends up being. Medium 7th at a 65 overall, 19 years old. That's not terrible, but certainly not ideal. Again, not terrible for this series. Any other series, that's the worst goddamn pick we could have possibly ended up with. But for this series, it's okay. As there's really no one ending up with steals aside from that one, what was it, a medium top 4 earlier? Ladine, that's a fairly good pick. Oh my god, Jarvinen. I opened my mouth too soon about no teams getting steals. Medium top 6 enforcer. What's up with the enforcers? So many enforcers in this draft, and I don't know why. What's going on? Let's look at the WHL again. And do we want to show some bass? I mean, I said I needed this to be a good draft for defensemen. So 3rd round, 4th round, 5th, 6th with McNaughton, and then just whoever that's projected to be undrafted. It's the only way to do it. That is the only way to do it. So let's go back to projected, and we will take a Jeffrey Bass from the Spokane Chiefs. Show some bass. Medium 7th, 54 overall at 18 years old. Again, not ideal, but when you look at the other defensemen, I mean, put it this way, someone like Dakota Krebs just retired. So when you look at other players in this draft, it's not looking all that bad for us, really. Medium 7th is better than we had been getting in previous drafts. So I'm feeling good, but again, no late steals for us. We ended up with Tennell, and I'm good with that. Let's see here. Who are we going to take? At this point, it's going to be Bodens. Travis Bodens of the Spokane Chiefs. 6'5" two-way. Medium 7th, 57 overall. So we're getting that defensive help, the defensive reinforcements that we needed. Will there be a steal here in the 4th round? Is my question. Look at all these players that were, for the most part, never eligible for us to take. And this draft has certainly fallen off a cliff. Yeah, it's gotten pretty bad. Saprikin, though, medium top 6 to 72 overall, wasn't completely terrible. So let's see. Next up is Meach, our one hope for a half-decent player in the later rounds. Don't exactly have my hopes up, but Meach is the pick, and Meach is pretty damn good. Low elite at a 52 overall, 17 years old as well, so he has all the time in the world to develop. That is our second low elite grinder that we've taken in this series. I am more than okay, there were some good picks here. I am more than okay with ending up with Meach in the 5th round. I said I had a feeling that is Kaliko, Jesus. I said I had a feeling that we weren't going to end up with anybody. I will gladly take a low elite in the 5th round. For us, that's like someone else drafting a goddamn franchise player in the 7th round. That's how big of a difference that's going to make, as opposed to getting, an AHL player or another medium 7th defenseman. So what a pick for us Meach ended up being. And that will bring us to the McNaughton pick. More than likely. I just want to double check. Again, it's Seattle, Everett, Spokane, and Tri-City. Unfortunately, it's not looking all that good for us. Indeed, it is not. So we're going to take the goaltender. Hopefully he's medium backup. Bill McNaughton, the 18-year-old from the Spokane Chiefs. And he's low backup, which is what I was afraid of. That said, I'd still probably rather have a low backup potential goaltender than a medium AHL starter. It's not like it's a great situation to find yourself in, regardless, though. So that was a bit of a swing and a miss, but we had to try. We need to bring in as many goaltending prospects as we possibly can. As Larock, Sorrell, medium, or not medium elites, that'd be insane. Low elites at this stage of the draft. And that brings us to our final pick of this draft here in the 7th round. So who is it going to be? Do we have anybody projected to be undrafted that is eligible for us? There's a bunch of these exacts, or I take the risk with one of these two guys, but I don't think they're eligible. They're not. I might just go for one of the exacts here, because otherwise, again, it's just best guess, which really is a shame. Are any of these players eligible? Prince Albert, Lethbridge, Kelowna, and Medicine Hat. Yeah, it's a thought of who the hell do we go for here? Or do we, again, look to just take one of the complete unknowns, of which there are many, and hope that somehow we find a steal? I think that's what I'm going to do. We might as well go for it. I'm going to prefer to go for a defenseman here. We have Don Huskins that we didn't take last year. I'm hoping, though, for an 18-year-old player, which means they're brand new to the engine. And that brings us to Rankin. We have Lawrence. Lawrence might be the only one. Strudwick. Adamski on Tri-City is also 18. and Garcia. So if we wanted to go for defenseman, it's going to be one of these two if we take the risk. Rankin, the 6'2", 18-year-old defensive D-man from Tri-City, or the other defensive D-man from Tri-City, Jason Adamski. Let's go for... I don't know. The lefty or the righty. The lefty or the righty. Let's go for Rankin. Why not? We found him first. And he's hot garbage. Well, you can't win them all, can you? That strategy might pay off at some point. It certainly didn't pay off in this draft. It's pretty much a one-player draft with the addition of Tennell, although Meach was another solid option that I shouldn't call out for being terrible. Meach and Tennell were the two biggest takeaways there, as well as the medium 7th D defenseman. And as far as how busy of a free agent or re-sign phase, I should say re-sign phase as opposed to free agency, since it's not going to be busy for us at all. Let's take a look here. What are we dealing with? I didn't look at progress reports. Whoops. Well, regardless, can I still do that? Is it too late to look at progress reports? I don't think it would be. I just remembered. The entire time I went through the draft, I was thinking to myself, did I forget something? Yes, I did. I'm a little bit off my game today. Bengoa is up to an 85. Yamamoto was 79, obviously showing up as a higher overall, but we're only focusing on the greens. Belfour is a 78. Sutter is a 77. Lorentz to a 75. Leeson up a point, as was Smith and Wiley. And that might be it, to be honest. Leduc went up 1 overall point. A 3-point improvement for Frazier. Crane, who he drafted, went from a 54 to a 65. Bishop from a 59 to a 64. Savvy went up 3 points. 2 points for Mutala. Horton went up by 8, which is tremendous. Dillman went up by 7. Lee went up by 1 point. Garvin by 2. Bodens by 5. Of course, he was just drafted, as was Rankin. And Oshie went up by 5. He is a 56. Saunders by a point. Van Imp by a 4. Is that it finally? That's it. All right, so there we go. So some decent progression for sure. Maybe not as much progression as I would have liked to have seen from Oshie, but with him being a low overall, again, he's more than likely, if it wasn't this series, he's the type of guy you trade away to get as much value as we can, because he's just way too much of a wild card in terms of progression. We are going to just release Beck Warm and Sekikawa Looting. We will re-sign Frazier, of course. Get him for 3 years at the max deal. And McNaughton. Again, could leave him unsigned. What do I want to do here? Yeah, maybe I'll just leave him as unsigned. We'll have Petit and Stankowski as our goaltenders next year. We'll have Frazier in the AHL, and then Oshie and McNaughton can spend the year down in junior. I think that might be how we do it. So, we'll change that up for next season. Defensively, I am going to let go of TJ Brennan for the moment. Ty Smith, try to sign him for that extra year. Wiley, I'll also bring back. He's made some improvements. He could at least be an AHL guy for us for a few years to come. Jarrett Tishka, obviously quite concerned about his progress at this point. Rumble has to stay. I could easily see him retiring after this season at his age and overall. I will bring in Crane. At least sign him up. Sign him to the max entry-level deal. I'm just going to let go of Lee. He is a decent, he's a body for the AHL team, but I mean, God, yeah, let's cut ties with him. Again, someone like Wyatt Wiley is at least worth keeping in a way. Bodens, we will sign. Rankin, I'm never going to sign. I'm going to let the 3 years go past. I'm not going to sign him. Screw it. Bass will also be signed, and like Getzlaff, when his contract's up, I'm going to let go of him too. But yeah, I was going to say, with us ending up with some decent defensemen, there's really no point in trying to do anything differently. Now, in previous NHL games, if I were to take a prospect like Kyler Yamamoto, I'm not going to sign him to an 8-year deal. Did he want to re-sign? It doesn't matter. At this stage, I don't have to worry about the 85% trick. 4.3 works. I will also bring back Sutter. I'll just sign him to whatever he wants. Geeky as well. Sign him to whatever he wants. And Tennell gets his entry-level deal. Sasha Mutala can stay. I guess we know he's not really going to progress. Same as Dawson, but he can stay just because the name is tremendous. Left wings, Bengoa. My God, Bengoa's entry-level deal is already up. 4 years at 6.5, that should be all right. We're not going to be in cap issue. Or, we're not going to have cap issues. We're not going to be in cap trouble by the time that contract is up. Molainen will also be brought back. And then centers, Anderson Dolan needs a deal. Leeson needs a deal. And Moroso will also sign Meach here. So we let go of a couple of prospects, signed as many players as we can. We will still hopefully have the ability to sign some free agents. Contract spots might look a little bit shaky. The only thing I'd really have to do is buy out one of the god-awful contracts. I'm just going to spam here. We know everyone's going to accept, though. No one's looking to leave. Everyone would have been an RFA anyway. So let me just double-check the cap situation. Let me double-check the contract situation. So $48 million in cap space. We're only at 36 contracts, so that's not a big deal whatsoever. And Rumble can sign for $19 million. I'll keep that in mind. So there we go. Let's go sign a couple of veterans through the free agent market, and we'll get a look at what this team is going to look like for next season. Again, despite Anderson Dolan being our leading scorer, I would expect the top line to be Bengoa, Yamamoto, and Tennell. Maybe we'll run Tennell on the second line, though. I don't know. We'll have to see how it looks. For now, let me find some veterans to sign to stupid deals. Like, I don't know who Gronstrom is, so screw that. Brandon Bollig, Derek Ryan, Kyle Kaminski. I've seen Kyle Kaminski listed there so often. I'll probably sign him. Let's give Bollig a $19 million deal. Let's give Kaminski a $19 million deal. And from there, we need to sign one other player to a little bit, just a little bit of money. Will Acton, Tommy Wingles. Well, let's do it. Tommy, we'll give you, I don't know. What would be a good amount here? If we had, $48 million in cap space? Let's give Tommy Wingles $5 million for the year, and he'll just sit down in the AHL. Now that Nathan Horton has retired. So there we go. That's looking good. Those three players will sign. That'll give me the ability to call up and send down whomever I damn well please. And we're good to go. Why Wingles waited to accept the offer an extra day or two after the others, I have no idea, but that's okay. So to the preseason we go. Overall, this season was okay. For the most part, we saw some good progression. The draft was all right, with Tennell and another low elite grinder, some medium seventh defensemen, which, as I've said in any other series, are just just throw the pick away. Just what a waste of a pick. A complete swing and miss. But for here, it's not that bad. I will continue to hammer home that point anytime I'm like, okay, before I see this type of comment, and then someone always just sarcastically posts that comment. Point being, we've done all right. We're continuing to improve. Will we ever see the playoffs? Probably, because of how this works. Will we ever see the second round of the playoffs? That's still up in the air. But I could see us sneaking into a wild card spot within the next 15 years. Oh, man. I'm loving this, though. Like I said, I wouldn't have made this a series if I wasn't intrigued by just the stupidity of the challenge. No disrespect to Ice Hawks, of course. But let's take a look here. So goaltending, Petit and Stankowski. Frazier is a 67. I'm going to have him be the AHL starter this year. Oshie's up to a 65. So Oshie actually improved much more quickly than I thought he would. I thought he was going to be a 65 by the time he hit 20 years old. So Oshie's done well. We'll see how the year in junior works out for him. So we gave him 1 year in the NHL. We'll let him progress in junior for this season, unless he ends up being an AHL goaltender, which could be the case. So Comiskey needs to be sent down for Bishop. And I think I want Rumble to be on the main team again. So Buffaro, actually, man, Rumble might have to be dropped. Rumble might have to be dropped. So Buffaro, yeah, see, Buffaro is not worth having there, whereas Crane is. So it's Smith, Wiley, Leduc, Tishka, Crane, and Bishop. I said Rumble was going to be the captain of the NHL team moving forward, but he might have to be the captain of the Evergreen moving forward, just for the sake of the development of this team. I mean, I could drop Leduc, but Leduc is better. It might still be able to make it to a low 70. Oh, Rumble, I'm sorry, buddy, but you're going down to the AHL, but you're still getting paid a boatload of money, so it's fine. Wingles and Bolig need to be sent down. From there, I think we're okay. If some players are CHL eligible, then so be it. Let's take a look at the team at the moment. I do want to sort out the AHL first. So it's Frazier, and indeed Oshie is in junior. So Frazier's the goaltender there. And then down in the AHL, Percy is not ours. Van Imp is. Van Imp. Actually, he's gotten better. Wasn't he... Am I mistaken that he was like AHL top 4 D? So I think he improved slightly, which isn't saying much. And, I mean, God, in the AHL here, I mean, there's nobody. There's nobody to pay attention to at all. This team's just an outright disaster. This team is just a disaster. So we'll keep that in mind. Let's go Buffaro and Rumble, I guess. But yeah, so there's no one to pay attention to there because Buffaro is not going to improve. Forward-wise, we do still have Mutala. Horton is ours. Saunders is also ours, but we know that he is just the worst. Dawson Butt is there. I'll take out Raimo Miettinen. Is there anybody that I'd want to scratch him for? Again, we know Saunders is ours. He's not going to improve. So, in terms of our players here, we have Horton, we have Mutala, Savvy, whatever, Wingles, and I'll bump up McBride. Not like this team matters all that much. Like right there, that's fine. Although I do want to make sure that someone's at center who should be. So that works. Horton's the only real guy to pay attention to there. Mutala, Butt, and Savvy are all our players, but they're not going to get any better. So for the AHL squad, because again, all of our younger guys are going to be in the CHL, the AHL squad's going to be looking a little bit rough throughout the course of this series. In terms of the NHL level defense, we have an extra lefty, which is fine. We'll put Ty Smith there. So let's go Tishka and Smith, Leduc, Wiley, Bishop, and Crane. We'll shelter Bishop a little bit on the third pairing this year, but his development this season could be huge for us. And then from here, I'll probably reorganize this, but Bengoa at an 86, Anderson Dolan at an 80, Yamamoto at an 82, Sutter's up to an 82, Belfour's a 79. This team, man, it's coming together. It's coming together. The top 6, plus the addition of Lorentz and Tennell. Our top 9 is almost sorted. It's almost sorted, so we're getting there. The defense is still hot garbage. I mean, Tishka's never really going to be that great. The only guy here that I have any faith in is Crane and Bishop. But we're getting there. We're getting there. And that is the point. So yeah, this roster is set. There are a couple things I might change. If I do, I'll show you guys the lines before we get going. We'll also name a new captain. It's probably going to be Bengoa, but maybe... Actually, here, let's do this. The last thing we'll do in this episode. Let's find our captains for this season now that Rumble is down in the AHL. So I agree that Tishka, who has brought home some hardware, should be an alternate. From there, do we go Bengoa as the outright captain? I kind of like Anderson Dolan as the captain, maybe even Morgan Geekie. Or do we just go with our Ovechkin as our captain? I think that's what we're going to do. Bengoa's the captain, and we'll give Morgan Geekie the other alternate. Heart and soul kind of guy. So there you go. There are the captains there. And in the AHL, just for the sake of consistency, let's name Chris Rumble the captain of the Tacoma Evergreen. So McBride, you're not even ours, so I don't care. Chubarov, let's remove you from captaincy. So Rumble is the captain. Who else do we have here? Dawson Butt has to be an alternate. And Mutala? Mutala. Yeah, let's go for Mutala with the other alternate. So there you go. The teams are basically set. The personnel is at least there. Maybe I'll change my mind about what players are down in junior, and maybe they'll end up being featured on the NHL squad. We'll see. But again, if I make any changes to the team, I'll make sure to showcase them before we begin simming the next season. So welcome to the team, Mr. Tennell. I'm excited to see what you can do in your rookie season. Guys, thank you for checking out this episode. I do appreciate it. The support's been insane, as I've mentioned lately, but I can't reiterate that enough. I reiterate a lot of things. Do you notice how many times I said, but again, in this episode? It was a lot, to the point where even I noticed, and I'm like, man, stop it. But it's a habit. It's a transition for me. I'm sorry. Thank you for watching. Your support on this video and with this channel, greatly appreciated. I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.